What's going on, everybody? It's that time again for the first time of 2024. Kevin, we're back in the studio, man. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. It's time to get fat.
If you're tuning in for the first time, my name's Aaron. This is my best friend, Kevin, and this is the Feed Your Fat Face podcast. This is the first episode of 2024.
Bro, how is it 2024?
I really don't know.
I'm.
How is it that we got all of the like George Orwell parts of the future without any of the Jetsons part of the future?
That's the freaking truth.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I'm like, we got, from what I was told the future was going to be, I can't help but feel like we got had.
Oh, yeah. No, totally. We got all the. Did you ever see the movie Twins? Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger? We got the Danny DeVito version of the Twins.
We did. Hey, before we jump into the content, man, catch me up. So we did our one-off last week at Cuarto de Kilo.
Yeah.
Fantastic burger, great time. But
good atmosphere, good place to good hang.
Yep, good hang. But I was thinking we took, there's Dead Week.
Oh yeah, it's the Twilight Zone.
That week between Christmas and New Year's.
Never know what day it is, what time it is, what anything. You guys went on a trip to Oklahoma.
We did. Yeah, almost Missouri.
We stayed home and I did a fast.
You did. I went the other way.
I did a 3-day water fast, the 26th, 7th, and 8th.
So how was that?
Miserable.
Yeah.
No, it really kind of stunk. But I really felt really good at the end of it.
So we went out. We, this, and we'll get into this later. But I'm doing some pretty significant lifestyle changes in this year in an attempt to get a little healthier. Mm-hmm. But boy, I went out with a blaze of glory. But so here's the thing that's hard for that in a social setting. I don't know if this is if you're like this, but it's like there's just always food around.
Sure.
And so, but then there's also these other factors that play into it. Like you eat because it's out there, but then I will like eat if I get stressed. So if there's even like a hint of weirdness in the room, I'm like, where's my pork rinds?
Well, and you were hanging out with family, so of course there's gonna be some of that.
It was mostly good. No, it was all good. And the only I probably caused the only tension that would have led people to stress eat. So, sorry to the fam.
You were eating anyway, so everybody else should too.
Exactly right. So we mentioned briefly we're going to take a different approach than we've ever taken this week.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is Feed Your Fat Face. This is about food. This is about all of those things. But this is the beginning of the year. And, I mean, anybody that's ever had a gym membership knows this is New Year's resolution
And
weeks.
despite the name, the Feed Your Fat Face, I mean, that was named simply because you and I have fat faces.
Right.
It has nothing to do with us thinking that fat is the best kind of face or that fat is the only available type of food. And so, we want to talk about things that matter to people who love food. And there's a lot of people who love really healthy food.
Yeah.
And actually, as I'm learning to grow in that discipline, we want to talk. What we wanted to do is spend some time today. We're going to just talk through the whole idea of lifestyle change or dieting that typically comes up and comes around at this time of year. People are always rethinking, and I think there's some good to it, but there's also maybe some danger to it, or at least some underlying truths that we need to understand. So we just thought we would talk kind of the diet side of food today.
Certainly. And like you said, there's definitely some good to it. And wanting to eat healthier, wanting to make changes that are beneficial to your body, mind, soul, health, whatever, those are always going to be good things. But there are scams. There are things that are genuinely, legitimately dangerous. There are things that to look out for.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into anything else, Aaron and I are not healthcare providers. None of this is healthcare advice. None of this is medical anything.
You probably knew that, but just in case.
But in case you didn't know, anything that we talk about is based on our experience or what we've read. And if you're going to do any of it, seek the advice of your healthcare provider.
I am later going to share a simple tool that I'm using, but even that, honestly,
check with your doctor.
My doctor recommended it to me. So I'm glad you brought that up. Any significant change to eating or diet needs to be done with a doctor's input.
I started thinking about that disclaimer on my way home from the Burger Challenge.
Because some dude's going to be like, Kevin and Aaron said this is why you get healthy. I'm like, well, look at Kevin and Aaron.
Right.
Like,
The picture of health.
you should take your food advice from a skinny person when it comes to losing weight, not from Kevin and Aaron. But people may struggle to believe this, but Kevin, have you had any? What are your past like diet?
I've done one diet that really worked, where I was actually at a pretty high weight. I was in the upper 330s. I think I was 338. Brittany and I had issues with her getting pregnant.
Right.
And her OB told her, hey, you should try the keto diet, which is low sugar or no sugar, low carb, a lot of meat, a lot of fat, all those things. And so Brittany was going to try that diet. And for the sake of household harmony, because you can't have one person doing keto and the other
really
person
tough,
doing cinnamon rolls.
Really tough.
You just can't. For the sake of household harmony,
I'm really proud to hear you say that you can't, because the Kevin I grew up with would have just been like, enjoy your keto, babe.
Yeah, how's that chicken?
You'd have asked her to make you the cinnamon rolls. So I'm proud of you, man.
But so I did it as well. So when I started, I was about 338. I got down to an even 250. So I lost 88 pounds.
That's not even a small human.
Yeah, it's a 1980s human.
Yeah,
it's not a now human, but it's
well done. That's significant.
And I lost it in like 5 months.
Have you had any diets that you've tried that just didn't work? What?
Every diet that is portion, like really restrictive, like ounces of this, like measure all the things, that's not going to work for me. I'm not willing to put in that effort.
Yeah,
to measure every meal, to take all those steps. One thing, I mean, and I put it in the notes like way later on, like, let's acknowledge, if you're gonna diet, there is sacrifice. You can't, healthier foods cost more.
Well, you can't continue to do what you've always been doing and expect to just magically get some different.
Oh, certainly. So the definition of insanity.
Right.
But there's going to be an investment of time, because your shopping's going to have to be different. Your meal prep is going to have to be different. You're, basically eliminating things like fast foods and those kind of things. The consistency of it is not easy, because there's times when, hey, I just need convenient food. I don't need, my strict diet food or whatever it is. So the things that have been super restrictive have not worked for me.
Yeah, I get that.
But it's more of a me thing than the diet itself.
Yeah, I haven't liked really strict things like that, like things that all of a sudden, like, you can't ever have this thing again. I tend to not do well with that. Mm-hmm. I have had, so we'll talk later about what I'm currently doing, but I'll be real honest. The only diet that I've ever tried, and one of the things that we talked about are there diets or things that you've done that you didn't really give a fair shake to. I tried for a little while the paleo diet, and I actually had pretty good success on it, and then I just gave up because I don't even have a good reason.
Sure. Well, the keto diet was very effective for me. The reason I stopped is Brittany got pregnant, and we went back to eating other foods. And so for harmony, I was also into the cinnamon rolls and the other things as well.
There is another diet that I've done, and this is, again, it is a diet, but it's not a diet. It's more about just a way of thinking about food. But we're going to talk about it later. I'm going to share a resource that we've done, that I've used in the past, that we still use, that helps make dieting feel like, oh, okay, I as a food lover, I'm not really giving everything up. I'm still, able to enjoy.
Yeah.
Because that's a big part of it. It's like if all that a diet brings into your life is pain, it's not. And like you said, there's a certain amount of pain that's going to come with it. That's part of the process. Like, you chose to get yourself unhealthy. It's work to get back healthy.
Sure.
But if all it brings, if there's not any sense of joy or accomplishment or reward, it's not likely to be an effective.
Well, no, it couldn't be. And because, I mean, that's not sustainable.
Right.
It's just not.
What are some of your thoughts on what are the things that maybe actually make a diet work for someone? And to clarify this again, we're not dietitians, so I'm not asking you like, what's the science of this diet or that diet?
Well, the thing that made keto so effective for me, it's a ton of meat and a lot of butter. I mean, that's super easy.
Yeah.
So, it was a good. The thing that did get difficult is like with most diets, they're like, hey, have a cheat day now and then. If you don't eat sugar and carbs for a sustained period of time, when you do, you feel like trash.
It's like the flu. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what they call it, the keto flu. And you feel like garbage if you get off that diet after you've been on it a while.
What is it, not just with the keto diet, but with any diet, what is it that makes a person likely in your mind? Like, why are we so prone to just give up?
Well, the results. I think too many people look at a diet as hey, I'm going to start this diet and I'm going to go from 300 pounds to 250. And they expect that to happen now.
Right.
And
which you've spent your entire life getting to where you're at.
Right. Yeah. Or at least from whatever event. Let's say you were an athlete and you got injured, or you were an active everybody's thinner in their younger years because you're more active. You're more,
yeah.
You take your first desk job and you're sitting there and you just kind of fill out the chair a little bit.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. But I think it's, you mentioned setting smaller goals along the way. I think it's the lack of those small goals.
Yeah, I at least I don't know how much of this is just different based on what your personality is or how you feel, but that's a big one for me. I have to have celebration along the way, an awareness of we're getting somewhere, you're working so like little. One of the things I think I wrote out in the notes was if I set out with this goal, like I'm gonna get healthier, and one expression of that healthier is I'm gonna lose 50 pounds. It takes some time to lose 50 pounds. Like you're invested in that for a number of months.
Well, okay, it takes some time to gain 50 pounds,
right?
So it's gonna take. But my point is, take the time to lose, but you actually have to turn the ship around.
But right, and my point is, if I'm only looking at successes, I've lost 50 pounds.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be discouraged for a long time.
And
so I've developed. I'm working on two things this year, especially as I'm trying to get the ship turned around. Is number one, I set smaller incremental goals, and so I do have a lot of weight that I want to lose, but my first goal was very manageable. If I can lose 10, if I can lose 5 pounds, and then that was my first road marker. But also I'm trying to work on setting my goals as things that we would call like a lead measure over a lag measure. So not to say I'm gonna lose weight, but instead define the goal as something that I can actually control. Okay. So instead of just going, my next goal is to lose 5 pounds. No, my next goal is that I'm going to drink the appropriate amount of water every day this week. I'm going to have 40 minutes of elevated heart rate exercise, 3, 4, 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because what I'm learning as I'm actually studying and reading and trying to understand is that so much of it has to do with not focusing on what the end game is, but what are the behaviors that will lead to sustained success. And so those are the two things that I'm working on.
Well, I remember as a kid, I grew up on military bases all over, but I remember there were always groups of ladies that did Weight Watchers together.
Yeah.
On the bases, and they'd all go to wherever it was for their Weight Watchers meeting, and they would actually get on the scale. Like that was the meeting. I don't know what the diet part of it looked like, but I Googled, I want to lose weight. That was just the search. And it came back with Jenny Craig, Slim for Life, RO, which is a shot, the Ozempic or the whatever, and Weight Watchers. But Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers have been around forever. And I think that system of it is something that has kept them around and kept people engaged in those, because there's a rhythm to it and a system of it.
I think,
part of that.
Yeah. Well, I also think something you hit on about those meetings, I think accountability is a big piece of it. So having me when I made the decision to tell you, hey, this is what I'm going to work on. Right. Like you're going to ask me about it.
Oh yeah.
At work, I told my assistant at work that I was doing it. And so she comes by my office and she's like, how much water have you had? So here's my new water cup. So
Well,
I am.
your assistant is engaged.
She is engaged.
And
She
so
doesn't. She does. Yeah.
She's not going to let you slide.
No, I will. I will lose weight, or Eugenia will murder me.
Well, or you'll run from her. You'll lose weight no matter what because you'll avoid her.
So either way, it's everything's coming up roses for Aaron. Yeah. So so I think accountability is a big piece of it as well. I guess what I would say to this end as we think about what is it that helps somebody be successful pursuing life change or eating different. I don't want this to sound like a cop out, but the best diet is the one that works for you. And I think part of what happens too in the kind of social media Instagram era is there is this like, oh, my friend did this diet and it worked really well for them, so I'm going to do that diet too. Well, your friend's a different blood type. Your friend has a different genetic makeup, like your friend. To just take a diet that, well, it worked for my friend, because then what happens is we get discouraged because it doesn't work for us. So then clearly I'm the problem. When the reality is, it may just be as simple as that diet doesn't work for you. And so, one, that's why it's important, again, talk with your doctor, get to know them, but also just like read and study. And if you read a diet and you go, oh, I don't think I can do that, guess what? You can't do that.
Yeah.
And so just pick another one.
Let's just say you get on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and you just diet, want to lose weight, diet, whatever. You're going to get a ton of stuff. It's going to change your algorithm. You're going to start seeing all the things. Well, one of the people that I started seeing when I was looking for healthier food options was a guy named Gary Brecka. He owns or runs or founded or whatever this 10X Health thing. It's a all about, he's a biologist and a biohacker. But I started listening to some of his videos, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, the whole thing. And then I started reading about what he was saying. And I'm like, oh yeah, it makes sense. You may be deficient in a mineral or a vitamin or something that I'm not, and vice versa.
That was actually the first thing my doctor did was before we talked about a specific diet plan, she ran blood work, and she did begin to change some vitamins and supplements. So yeah, you're right.
So with like I said, I've done some reading on what he does, and so I've started taking some things because of listening to what he's got.
So yeah, don't just do the thing that's hot and trendy. But I did want to. So I also did a Google search because Dr. Google knows everything. But I Googled what are the top trendy diets for 2024. So we're going to talk through a couple of those. We're actually going to put some graphics on the screen, and I think that these graphics will actually load up to the socials, and so you guys can go and download them. But it led me to 4 diets, which to me was a bit of a cop out because it was really like 2.5 diets. But so the first one is the Mediterranean diet. Are you familiar with the Mediterranean diet?
Not completely, no.
So basically, the Mediterranean diet is a diet based on what they would eat in the Mediterranean. So in Greece, and it is
so olives and goat cheese.
A lot of it, yeah. So you plan your meal around these foods on a Mediterranean diet, and you can see it on the graphic. They're vegetables, fruits, whole grains, olive oil, beans, nuts. Emphasizes plant-based foods to help and healthy fats, and you're going to eat lots of vegetables, lots of fruit, lots of beans. You're going to lots of extra virgin olive oil. When you eat, they actually, if you're capable, the true Mediterranean diet would recommend almost no meat protein.
Oh,
yeah, but they do say, and I think this is where you'd be okay. The version that most people are on, it does include a lot of poultry. It says limit your red meat, which would be hard for you, but it also says lots of fish, which I can do fish and poultry, believe it or not.
I mean, I can do fish now and again, but I couldn't live on I'd be bad at being stranded on an island and catching my own fish.
You do get a moderate amount of wine because of the Greeks. So
sure, but then you need
little to no sweets, sugary drinks, or butter.
Yeah, you got to give me my red meat and my butter.
So Bree and I have been, we've done a lot of Mediterranean. We've been doing Mediterranean eating. Bree's doing it more, but this is a book that she's been using, and I will tell you that it's got some delicious recipes in it. So check that out. We'll put a link to it. But yeah, the Mediterranean diet cookbook for for beginners. Meal plans, expert guidance, and 100 recipes to get you started.
Tell me what things I need in my kitchen and come over and prove it.
Okay, we'll do it. So that's the Mediterranean diet. There is another diet out. Do you know? This one made me laugh. The flexitarian diet.
No, this one you mentioned that word, and I probably looked at you like a monkey doing math.
Yeah, so it is referred to as a semi-vegetarian diet. And
Hard
so
pass.
for those who can't commit, but here's the deal. It does not involve counting calories or super strict rules. So that plays into your favor.
It still doesn't.
Yeah.
It's all if it's based on vegetables, then I'm out.
Yeah, so but here's what it really is. It is a diet for people who recognize the benefits, and there are benefits of a vegetarian lifestyle, but who still want to eat meat sometimes. That's basically it. You live as a vegetarian, but you allow yourself some animal proteins every so often. So it's like reward day could be a tenderloin, a filet mignon. You're out.
I'm out.
You're out. Again, we're not recommending these diets, and I'm not recommending these diets.
It sounds like a
This was
water
just-
fast to me.
these
so
are
I get
the
to eat once a week.
No, you get to eat every day.
No.
You just don't get to eat like you every day. So, yeah. So we're not doing the flexitarian diet. We're not doing the Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet is delicious, and a lot of people have had a lot of success with it. I will say that. The third type is called the DASH diet. Have you heard of the DASH
I
diet?
have heard of the DASH diet. I've not researched it, but I have heard of that one.
So the first two that we mentioned, Mediterranean and flexitarian, I only included them because they came up in a search of the top trending diets in 2024. The DASH diet is one that I've been familiar with for a long time.
Oh, you've known about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the DASH diet is dietary approaches to stop hypertension. So a doctor will oftentimes, if you go in with high blood pressure, oftentimes, certainly if they medicate, but oftentimes before they medicate, they will change your diet and put you on the DASH diet. And so the high blood pressure, which affects 1 in 3 American adults, major risk factor in heart disease, and it's higher amounts of potassium, which is a heart healthy mineral, less sodium, which helps lower blood pressure. But it essentially is you eat lots of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, seeds, legumes, and low-fat dairy, and you minimize, that's a key word, you minimize fatty meats, full-fat dairy, oils that are solid at room temperature, so like coconut oil, high sugar foods, high sugar drinks. And it's all aimed at, so they still do limit, this is a diet that doctors will recommend for heart health, but they still do recommend limiting red meat intake. But it's really effective. So it's 6 to 8 servings a day of grain, 4 to 5 servings of fresh fruits and vegetables, 2 to 3 servings of low-fat dairy, unlimited. It says fats and sweets, healthy fats. 4 to 5 servings per week of legumes, nuts, or seeds, and 6 or less servings per day of lean protein.
I feel like you threw the healthy part of the fats in there.
It's not on the graphic, but would you be able to do the DASH diet?
It sounds like it.
I think the hardest thing with the DASH diet is it doesn't. I mean, parts of it sound okay, parts of it don't sound enjoyable. But I'm like, I would likely do the DASH diet because the doctor was like, "Listen, fatty, it's time to get this under control." And so I would have to do.
Yeah.
the
Hey,
fat
both of you need this diet.
right. So the fourth trending diet, this one is the one that really made me laugh. Here comes the graphic called Mind Diet. Now, the idea behind it is solid. It lowers your risk for Alzheimer's, and it is about neurodegenerative delay, about intervening and either stopping or slowing Alzheimer's or dementia, right? But it literally is just the DASH diet and the Mediterranean diet married.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you get to eat greens, veggies, berries, nuts, olive oil, whole grains, fish, beans, poultry, red wine. You have to minimize butter, cheese, red meat, fried foods, and sweets.
Do you know in most countries Alzheimer's isn't called Alzheimer's? It's called type 3 diabetes.
Oh, is it really?
It is.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to do a whole episode on what things mean in other countries.
Yes,
That's gonna
we'll
be
get into that
interesting.
next
Actually,
week.
next week, yeah.
This is actually a great lead into next week, though.
Yeah. Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
So the
It's one of
Mind
those Gary
Diet, just
Brecka
goes to those.
things.
But those are the top 4 trending diets
Trending
according to
diets.
Google. So that was surprising to me. They're less fad diets than I thought.
Well, sure. And, it's good that some of those diets are things that have had stuff put into, thought put into them, or some research or some science. I remember, in our earlier days, our late teens to maybe early 30s, there were some crazy diets.
Oh man.
I mean, there was
It's wild that more people didn't die from them. And I'm not even joking in that.
No, you're right. Yeah. It's I mean, people would do like a whatever only diet,
Yes.
and that's all they had for a ridiculous amount of time, like an egg diet or I remember some people doing
that. Would
diet.
be a smelly. Please don't, for anybody that you may live with's benefit, do not do the egg diet.
The egg diet is for those who are single and want to stay that way for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. You marry it with the garlic diet and just have a good time. The broccoli diet. Oh, the broccoli and egg diet. Oh, hard pass. Hard pass.
The sulfur diet.
One of the things that I'm working on. So I'll tell you the approach that me and my doctor settled on for me is I'm working with the Noom app. Are you familiar with the Noom app?
I am.
Okay, here's some information for you who may not know about it. Here's what it looks like in kind of a slide with an overview. But the Noom diet focuses on the psychology behind weight loss. It's not really restrictive. Their deal. It's not. It really is. You can eat whatever you want, but it all has a cost, and it's they don't restrict anything. They don't limit you by points, but you eat. They do set a calorie goal, and then they list foods as green, yellow, red, but it is or green, yellow, orange, but it has to do with caloric density. So one of the things they said is a quarter pound cheeseburger and a quarter pound of salad are both a quarter pound, but the quarter pound cheeseburger has 12 times the calories. And so,
sure. So what about your 12 grapes when you're having New Year's in Spain?
They're okay. I have learned, Kevin, that grapes are a low caloric density. They're a green food. So I would be okay. But the reason, what I've liked about Noom, and why I would recommend it to people is one, the education factor. Like it's teaching me not just about the food science, but about the psychology behind the struggle with weight loss, which is
sure.
But the other thing is, here's what I'm learning, dude. My biggest problem was mindfulness. Like I just didn't give any thought to when, how much, or what I was eating. Does that make sense?
It does.
And so what Noom does is it just forces me to be aware of, oh, that's a lot.
Well, there's a lot of times, I mean, okay, society now is not like it was when we were growing up. When we were growing up, there were going to be 3 meals during the day, every day. And there was going to be very little snacking between those. Now I could eat all day long or not at all, just depending on when I want to eat.
Yeah.
And I think most people function that way.
Yep.
And so, yeah, being mindful of, just over the day, like when I'm grazing, man, I can put away a lot of groceries.
Also, watching for triggers. So, what are the things that likely cause me to make an unhealthy decision?
Well, you just said earlier, you eat when you feel stressed.
Oh, yeah.
And I kind of have a different thing that, okay, so we're both big guys. We talked about this from our very first episode. We're both, you're 6'3", I'm 6'5", which puts us at the very upper end of.
Then you add our weight into it.
Yeah. And so I'm 6'5". I've hovered around 300 pounds for 5 or 6, 7 years now. At 6'5", I'm in the top 0.01% of height in the world.
That's so crazy, isn't it?
It is. At 300 pounds, I'm in the top same, percentile in weight. So at 6'5", at 300 pounds, I'm one of the biggest people on the planet.
So it's sort of a badge of honor for you.
Yeah. And so
it's a distinctive for
I look at it, and then when I start dropping below that, I'm like,
for our Bible reading followers, you are part of the Nephilim. You are you are a Philistine. You are yeah.
But there's just
giant.
It's just, I'm one of the biggest people
That's
ever.
So funny. One of the things that we wanted to stress, though, as we're going to wrap up in a minute with we'll do some food news and some closing thoughts. But before we get there, one of the things that we wanted to say is it's so important that when you diet well. Like, don't diet. You need to diet healthy. So don't do starvation diets.
Oh, certainly not. If you are dieting and you start to feel weak or dizzy or whatever, check with your doctor. Check,
But here's another thing that was important to me outside of that is I told Kevin one of my struggles. If I can, I mean, I'm going to be vulnerable whether I can or not, right? We'll see. We'll see what the likes do.
we'll see how it works out.
One of my biggest struggles with weight loss for a long time, one of my biggest motivations was about if I'm less fat, then people will like me and I will like me. It was a self-acceptance thing. So what's changed now and why I didn't diet or try to lose weight for a season was I was like, dude, I've got to learn to just be okay with me first, right? Because here's the deal. Losing weight isn't actually going to make you like yourself if you don't like yourself. You'll just find something different to not like. And so I would just say before you start any diet, you need to spend some time being confident in who, as a believer, I would say who the Lord has made you to be, but be confident in what your identity is.
Right.
And learn to just be okay with yourself.
And I think I go the other way with that. I think being bigger, I just,
you love yourself.
Yeah, I'm just like, hey, I'm good and I'm big enough that nothing's gonna hurt me.
When I told Kevin that some of weight loss was a self-acceptance exercise, he had never considered such tomfoolery.
No, I just
You're like, people don't like themselves.
You have another book over there that I keep wanting you to pull out, the Dude Diet book.
Oh yeah,
I do want you to bring that out.
So you can see by all of the colored tabs in it that this is a book that we have well loved. But so here's the story on this book. Pages are falling out. Bree got me this book a long time ago, and again we'll post to it. But the lady in it was a dietitian for several. For an NFL team, and then once she left that, for several former NFL players and athletes. Mm-hmm. And she realized that these diets that we just talked about, these guys are not interested in eating olive oil and legumes.
Yeah, they just don't work.
So she said, I had to make a diet for men with food that men like to eat. And so the recipes in it, dude, are so good. And you don't even Bree would make them, and I'm like, there's no chance that this is a healthy one. She's like, they're all healthy, bro. Yeah. She also has a blog that you can go to, and it has a lot of recipes, but the Dude Diet is strong.
Yeah, and so I wanted you to bring that one out because that's good food. It's
that's for people who want to lose weight and eat like a fatty.
Yeah, truly.
Feed Your Fat Face approved.
It is stamp.
Oh, man. You want to do some food news?
Let's do some food news.
All right. So these are food news is where I try to find a couple of things going on in the world of food that Kevin has not found or been exposed to. I will read in the headline a little bit about the story, and then we just get to see Kevin's blind react. I don't know how controversial either of these are, but the first one, you'll know why I picked it because it was near and dear to my heart. You ready?
Yeah.
So Hershey facing lawsuit over misleading Reese's Halloween candy packaging.
Misleading packaging?
Yeah. So
what exactly was misleading?
Well, Kevin, I'm glad you asked. A Florida woman said that its holiday-themed Reese's peanut butter cups lacked the artistic details shown on the packaging that made them worth buying. She's suing for nearly $5 million. Her name is Cynthia Kelly, and she said that Hershey intentionally deceived reasonable consumers by falsely promising that its candies would contain explicit carved-out artistic designs. She said she paid $4.49 in October at an Aldi for a bag of Reese's peanut butter cup pumpkins that she would not have bought had she known that they didn't have carvings.
Cynthia Karen Kelly.
I don't know her middle name. It doesn't say so.
No, that's her.
It doesn't say
name. That's what's going on.
When the lawsuit hits,
that's what's going on.
I want it to be clear who said what. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, Cynthia Kelly is yes, she would have bought it.
So the complaint said that Hershey's labels are materially misleading, and numerous consumers have been tricked and misled by the pictures on the products.
Have you ever rolled out cookies and used the cookie cutters and baked the shapes of the cookies and do they come out the same as they went in?
Well, Kelly's point would be that Cynthia Kelly's point would be that they don't purport to actually create a star. Where Reese's showed a picture of a chocolate pumpkin with a jack-o'-lantern
on the container the cookie cutters come in. Yeah, they do.
Yeah. I'm not saying I'm with Cynthia Kelly.
Cynthia Kelly's a moron.
Again, That's Kevin Hill when the lawsuit for when the libel and slander suit hits.
My opinion is that Cynthia Kelly is a moron.
Yeah. I whether she is or not, I can't say. But what I will say is, I think this is frivolous and a disgusting waste of time.
This is worse than the Burger King thing.
Here's the real question: does anybody really go slow enough when they're opening a Reese's to even recognize what's on the outside?
I know who has the light on and is eating these in full.
She could have said that they did have carvings. I would have believed her because I'm popping these things like Tylenol.
Oh yeah,
because any specially themed Reese's is the best Reese's.
Okay.
Yeah, they just get the proportions right.
They do.
Footballs, pumpkins are among the best.
And more peanut
Easter
butter.
eggs.
They have more peanut butter.
Yep. You ready for article number 2?
I am. I'm ready to get Cynthia Kelly off my mind.
Beer drinking in America falls to the lowest level in a generation.
I don't doubt that. I think that there's with the rise of all the microbreweries and all the
but it's not even just big labels. It's just in general.
Yeah, I can see that.
It says the past year saw the lowest level of beer consumed in the U.S. in a generation. It said and actually in alcohol altogether. For the first time since 1999, beer shipments were on track to fall below 200 million barrels. Anheuser-Busch did make big headlines, obviously, last year because of the
Bud Light
thing, which today's not that day.
Nope.
But bigger than that, it just everything just kind of dropped.
So let me ask you this. Again, we're kids born in the 70s. I'm not going to ask you when
sounds
you're
a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. I'm not going to ask you when your official. I'm not going to ask you when your actual first taste of beer.
I'm not even sure I would remember.
But when was your first dad approved? Sip of beer.
Dad approved sip of beer.
I mean, do you remember that? Do you remember the first time dad or your grandpa or whoever it was for you hey, go get me a beer, and they crack it and they let you have a sip?
It probably would have been a grandpa. Dad didn't. Beer gave my dad really bad headaches for most of our growing up, so we didn't have beer in the house really. But
I'm glad to see he's gotten over that.
He has gotten over that. Yeah,
Way
he's
to go,
found a way to power through. But yeah, I do remember it. I do remember it. It was actually in Bandera at my grandma's house. I remember it.
Yeah, mine was
It
a
was
grandpa.
Pearl. It was Pearl. It was gross.
Oh, but see, that's
Put hair on
the
my
thing.
chest.
Right. I don't think that dads and grandpas in 2024 are giving whatever age you
That's
were.
true. I don't give Carson has never had a dad approved sip of beer.
A sanctioned sip of beer.
He's 17. Whatever. But I've never encouraged a sip.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a good point. So they're just not developing the taste for it the same.
Yeah, because I mean, your first beer, like you just said, not awesome.
Not awesome.
Mine was a old Gold Coors.
Do you remember there used to be Keystone Light commercials?
Yes.
And you would sip them in the bitter beer face.
Yep.
Yeah. That first sip of beer was definitely bitter beer face.
And the first sanctioned sip of beer is really for your reaction. It's like the moms that give the babies the lime or the lemon, and they sit there and video the reaction. That's what dads were doing back then.
Yeah, 100%. So I guess that is about all that we prepared for.
Yeah, that's all we got in the notes. That's kind of us for today.
From here on out, I feel like we would break theme probably.
Yeah, I think it would spiral.
Yeah, unquestionably. You have anything you wanna add, or you want to make sure we squeeze into this episode?
No, I want to. As we go into this new year, I do want. We've added the video. I want us to talk to the people that are watching, and whatever you want to see or hear on the podcast, just reach out to us.
Yeah, let us know.
Eat at Feed Your Fat Face. EAT. Eat at Feed Your Fat Face. Any of the socials.
Yep. And we are going to be, again, the slides that you saw in the episode, we're going to post on the socials throughout the week.
Right.
So you'll have an opportunity to see those. But we want to be more active in that. But yeah, we definitely want to just create something that works for you guys, that you guys like. So so help us out with that. But again, we're just glad you're back with us, man. It means a lot that you would take the
this
time
is fun.
to, yeah, we're having a blast. So I would hope that you have a really great week. But Kevin, what are the good folks need to do?
Fatties, beer cold, grills hot. Whatever.
Yeah, keep your grills hot and your beers cold, I think is what he means.
That was it.
Until next week, fatties. We'll see you then.